JD Vance is in Switzerland with White House envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for Iran peace talks.
But President Trump is threatening to impose tolls on the Strait of Hormuz if a deal with Tehran is not secured.
Chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv, and he has the latest. Trey, what can you tell us about this peace deal meeting, or at least the preliminary parts of it, in Switzerland today?
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. High-level diplomatic talks are taking place in Switzerland aimed at solidifying the memorandum of understanding and entering into the next phase of negotiations. Vice President J.D. Vance is joined by special envoys Kushner and Witkoff for these conversations. And we do know on attendance from the Iranian side, you have the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Mohammad Khalibaf, along with the country's foreign minister. Now, Vice President Vance spoke about the detailed talks before departing.
Well, I think number one, just getting things set up in the right way and getting the actual structure of the negotiation in place. So the way that we're going to do this is that we're going to have a principal level political leadership at the top, and then obviously technically we're going to stay on the ground. I think we're going to hopefully make progress on the nuclear issue, make progress on the Lebanon ceasefire issue. Those are the two big things that I think we're going to be focused on.
The issue of Lebanon remains a major sticking point. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed by Hezbollah in the course of 48 hours over the weekend. The Israelis responding with heavy airstrikes across southern Lebanon. Now, in response, the Iranians claim they are closing the Strait of Hormuz, something U.S. officials pushed back against, saying that U.S. forces remain in control. President Trump posted a Truth Social about the strait on Saturday evening, saying there will be no tolls in the Hormuz Strait for 60 days during the ceasefire period, and there will be no tolls after the 60-day period has expired, unless they are imposed by and for the United States of America. This while Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said this about Israel and the link to Lebanon in a broader agreement.
The other side was obliged to compel those under its influence, specifically the Zionist regime, to cease fire in Lebanon. In this regard, we have seen that they have failed to fulfill their obligations, and this constitutes a clear violation of the ceasefire understanding.
The Iranians continue to tie the issue of Lebanon and Hezbollah to the broader memorandum of understanding with the United States, saying any Israeli strikes against Lebanon will be a violation of the agreement. Guys?
Trey, so we spoke earlier with the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, and he says that he has had communication with the Lebanese president, Joseph Aoun, and that he wants to have peace with Lebanon, but that can never happen while Hezbollah is there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the reason that the Trump administration has this parallel diplomatic track to try and normalize ties between the Israeli and Lebanese governments with one main goal, and that is to disarm Hezbollah, not just in southern Lebanon, but also in the Dakheh neighborhood of southern Beirut. Now, if they're successful on this front, you could see the Israelis and the Lebanese working together to fight Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy. And that's the goal here, to create a scenario in which Hezbollah has less power and less influence over the region, and that weakens the Iranian position. But again, the fact that the Iranians are tying the issue of Lebanon to the Memorandum of Understanding, this is a key issue that is set to be discussed in Switzerland today to try and detach this and ensure that there is stability in this agreement that was reached between the Iranians and the Americans.
You know, Trey, it's no secret that there's a lot of different factions inside of our country, outside of our country, other countries who aren't happy about the prospect of this peace deal, that thinks that we should have as a nation and that President Trump should have kept going with the war. Can you explain what do those people who have that point of view, what does it look like if we had continued, whether it's to gas prices? Could this have, the next thing would be what, Karg Island, boots on the ground? What kind of escalation are they willing, those who oppose this, were they willing to stomach in order to continue this fight against Iran? I'm just kind of confused about that.
Yeah, there are a variety of questions that could be asked about the more hawkish voices as it relates to the conflict with Iran. And there were questions that the administration was asking as well. If the bombing campaign against the Iranian regime continued for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or even longer, the question to be asked is, do you believe that this would have led to regime change in Iran? And the short answer is no. because, as we saw during Operation Epic Fury, you could degrade the Iranian military and destroy the country's navy. But this is a country that ultimately has a mosaic defense system. And at least during that 40-day period, they were still launching missiles and drones. And the United States and Israel went after the production lines of these drones and missiles. But ultimately, this is a country of more than 90 million people. It's a very large country. And their leadership was taken out. Their military was really damaged. And their economic situation was in a dire position due to the U.S. naval blockade. And that is, according to our sources, why President Trump believed it was the right time to enter into this memorandum of understanding with the Iranians with one goal: to ensure that the Iranians never have a path to a nuclear weapon. Now, today we heard a statement from Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian saying that the Iranians will maintain their ability to enrich uranium. And these are exactly the types of statements we expected to hear from the Iranians. And it's the exact reason that American negotiators and mediators are on the ground right now in Switzerland to enter into this next round of talks, because this is where the details about Iran's nuclear program are going to be discussed and worked out. And again, this is a ceasefire. The Memorandum of Understanding is not the final agreement with Iran. It is a 60-day extension to the ceasefire with the United States. And President Trump has been very clear. There are still diplomatic and military options available if the Iranians ultimately don't uphold their end of the bargain.
Well, we're going to have our chief news and legal correspondent, Shannon Bream, come in, the host of Fox News Sunday. You just heard Trey talking about these issues here in Iran. Any thoughts, Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, so much of this, it seems channeled back to the Israel-Lebanon Hezbollah conflict. And, you know, Iran pointed to that, saying, listen, that's the reason that we're going to shut down the strait. That's the reason we are shutting down the strait, although our military sources are saying the strait is open, ships are moving. But it all gets back to that particular conflict. And Israel says we're going to defend ourselves. There is a threat there. But there are questions from critics who say, is this more about Prime Minister Netanyahu's fall elections, burnishing his image at home? One of our guests today on Fox News Sunday is going to be Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, and we'll talk about all of that.
And very interesting indeed. Thanks, Shannon.
So, Shannon, let's talk about this, and that is the former presidential candidate and Vice President Kamala Harris went on Don Lemon's show, and among the various things she said, she talked about going after President Trump and President Trump's DOJ if elected. Here's what she said. Listen here. I want to get your reaction.
I think that the people who deserve to be prosecuted or whatever it is for misusing the Justice Department and abusing, I believe, American citizens and American politicians, or whether you want to say political rivals or whatever, I think that they should face, you know, some sort of justice.
Oh, well, I absolutely believe that. And I believe that there should be that there should be accountability, especially for people in the highest roles of power.
If you are president, and let's just say in 2028 you are elected, will you make sure that there's accountability?
Oh, I believe firmly in accountability. Yes.
Shannon, your reaction to talk like that?
Yeah, not surprising, because I feel like this has been ratcheting up back and forth. It started during the Biden administration. A lot of people would argue some type of weaponization of the DOJ. Now, President Trump's critics say they're seeing it on this watch. So I would imagine whichever the administration is next time, it's a Democrat, they're going to say, OK, these precedents are now set, and we're going to go after people based on their prosecutorial decisions, what they did. Not surprising. I'm not sure that there's a way to pull back from where we are, or if, listen, we just have new and different precedents. And every successive administration, whether they're D or R, are going to push the limits of that.